Good.
Hello everyone, my name is Vuk and I lead the product at a company called Vimcar, and I would like to talk to you about 5 product trends in the connected car market, and I wanted to make more kind of product focused contribution to this great session on connected car. And I'm assuming that in front of me I have a room full of developers, designers and engineers really keen to engage with this potentially great opportunity of the connected car industry. And I'd like to talk to you about 5 important trends that I have kind of identified by working in this area and help you understand what is potentially the best opportunity for you in this particular market and how should you basically build a product that is going to capitalize on that opportunity as well. And this experience is based on a work at a company called Vimcar. We are a connected car company based here in Berlin. Our mission is to build intelligent products based on car data. Our first product that we have launched in the market since November is called SPOTS, and it's an OBD2-based solution that helps basically consumers keep more efficient tax-compliant logbooks. And I'm not sure if this plays, but yeah. And you basically, our system is based, as I said, on a little piece of hardware that collects some of the information from the car. It relays it to our servers, and eventually we have built a streamlined native experience for iOS and for Android. We are currently building it for a web platform as well, so that eventually we can create really simply, easily, efficiently tax-acceptable trip logbooks that allow people to save money and to save time when dealing with certain taxation regimes or regarding with cars in Germany at least. And this is this is just the first of many products that we hope to build. And we have launched this product last November, as I said. On the first day when we launched, we were all delighted to see that there are some orders coming in, but we were of course a little bit anxious to see how is this going to develop and how is market going to react and how are we going to get adopted in there. But soon it proved out that we seem to have actually the right product for the right market, and as the day went on, the pile of boxes to be dropped off for shipping kept growing. Due to our ongoing success in this market, we have started developing some interesting partnerships as well. So O2 has recently launched a joint product with us called O2 Fahrtenbuch Pro that will basically allow our product to run on O2's enabled hardware as well. And this is really great validation of the problem that we're trying to solve. And obviously the team at O2 has recognized that this is actually a genuine issue, especially for the audience that they're trying to address, small and medium enterprises and home office segment as well. And they have decided to partner with us as a specialist in this area to sell this tax-efficient logbooks to their use base as well. And based on these experiences with Vimcar, I've kind of thought about it a little bit and isolated 5 key things that I could say to anybody else who is trying to understand the space of connected car industry and who is trying to identify opportunities and a way to capture on them as well. And the first trend that I want to stress here is that whoever you are and whatever you're building, I can almost guarantee you that you're probably not a target demographic. So unless you're developing something incredibly niche, the chances are that you need to consider who exactly are you building this for, what are their preferences and what are their needs. And this is a little bit of an example to bring the point to home. How did it work with us at Vimcar? In our kind of branding communication, this is kind of how we imagine our customers to be. Professional, but fairly young and young professionals. However, we have very quickly validated and proven that most of our customers are actually men, predominantly men, slightly older in their 40s and 50s, potentially 60s as well, simply because this is the point in professional career, in a life cycle where most of the users are getting company cars, and they're getting company cars of a certain threshold of a value. So actually taxation issue becomes a real genuine problem for this particular constituency. And having identified this fact, it becomes much easier for us, especially in a product and development team, to know what we ought to be building and exactly how will our users have preferences. Second thing I want to stress, and I think in the previous panel there was some kind of indication in this direction, I want to kind of focus your attention away from car. Connected car just sounds really good. It's a good buzzy term, But really, car, for me, it's a little bit too constrained, and basically perhaps focuses you too much in kind of consumer experience, or perhaps of a personal car experience of one person driving one car for their own specific purposes. And I want to basically to stress the point that the market of connected vehicles is way, way bigger. And I just want to basically bring your attention that there are all of these mobility services that need kind of new and innovative approaches, and we are hearing about a lot of interesting work being done in certain municipalities with municipal Wi-Fi and enabling better services on buses, for instance. There are all these issues with delivery vehicles. Delivery is now especially a critical point, now that we're basically having mass adoption of e-commerce, now that we're having mass adoption of on-demand delivery services as well. And this is a huge opportunity to basically cater for these kinds of problems that are not necessarily car-related, but are much more in the vehicle space. Or indeed, whatever your vertical is, I'm pretty sure that there is some strange but very specific vehicle that probably needs specific treatment and brings unique challenges with it as well. Now, having talked about vehicles, I also want to talk about third thing, and I also want to bring to your attention that very clearly cars and vehicles are changing. So I think we can all kind of look at the 1950s and 60s, potentially 70s, as this high watermark of our own collective, love affair with the car, where car was very specific object of desire, very specific object of high-end design. And you can almost kind of think that today a cutting-edge philosopher like Roland Barthes was in 60s and 70s wouldn't necessarily be writing about the latest model of the cars and putting it so prominently in their work. Yet, it doesn't mean that cars are going away, and it doesn't mean the vehicles are going away, and it doesn't mean that there are some fascinating new problems to be solving. For instance, we have electric vehicles, which bring with themselves some specific challenges, especially around charging, especially about issues of reach, figuring out where you can go, how you can do it. There is a whole new world of access to the car. We can basically lump it under car sharing in a very different models, and we can think about how does the whole landscape change when, as we heard previously on a panel, we're talking about selling mobility rather than selling vehicles. And we can even think about, I actually hesitate to call them car sharing services because I do believe they're much more of an independent transportation network companies, the likes of Lyft, Uber, and the others, who are actually building the entire vehicle-based, currently mobility solutions for people, but I firmly believe soon for goods as well. So there is a lot of interesting thing going on around changing nature of ownership, changing nature of access, and with it coming the changing nature of personal attachment and products necessary to support these new issues and things. And of course, this is just first level of disruption, as it were, because many of these new models are then going to be disrupted again with robots. Basically, with autonomous vehicles and self-driving cars, things are going to be shifting once more. And this is an image from one of the first kind of hobbyist gatherings when enthusiasts are kind of experimenting with self-driving cars. But, whenever something looks niche or wherever something looks like a toy, many times it's a good signal that it's actually a new trend coming along. And this doesn't mean that you should be kind of despairing that cars are changing and going away. All this means is there is an entirely new set of behaviors, needs, resources, and products that needs to be built around this brave new world. And if you're thinking about developing something in this area, in connected car area, I would really stress that it's important to think what are the problems that you can solve for the problems of the future, rather than keep basically stuck in the past and solving the problems from the last decade. Now, my fourth trend is going to contradict my third trend, but only a little bit, because I still want to be fairly realistic, and I want to talk about current car capabilities and about basically implementing them. Because let's face it, cars are very complex things to build, and even if they kind of get easier to build, the replacement cycles are simply quite long. And this means that the whole industry moves quite slowly, partly because we have a lot of interest in these giants trying to move and shift with the landscape, partly simply because people want to basically keep using the cars that are good and they basically fulfill the need for which people have got them in for. However, it is a little bit strange that in many regards we are getting these really sophisticated cars now, but at least when it comes to actually sharing data, they're still kind of at the level of this old 1930 car as well. And Bill Buxton, the UX guru, has put it very well in his cutting remark that, we all now realize that car is the biggest personal computer that you have and the one that you actually have least input and influence and insight in terms of data as well. And there are two basically things that you can do at this point. You can kind of shrug your shoulders and wait until situation gets better, perhaps wait for outcome of great, standardization committees or consortia, or you can think of a way to augment the vehicle. You can think what is the prosthetic way, what is the perhaps aftermarket device that you can bring to bear to the problem that you're having, that it's going to basically shortcut the issue, and it's going to allow you to start developing certain issues and certain basically products to solve those issues. In our particular case with Vimcar, this kind of prosthetic opportunity, this augmentation opportunity is OBD Port 2. It's fairly ubiquitous, it works fairly well, at least in the markets that we are kind of operating, and it allows us just enough insight into the information that we actually need to deliver solutions to the issues that our customers that we have identified and approached have. Of course, we want to be very smart about this, and I have had different talks in the past previously about not getting killed by this additional complexity and making sure that you're wise about which kind of tool do you use to augment the car, how do you perhaps give it just enough attention so it works, but perhaps don't focus on it too much, because we firmly believe that as useful as an interesting OBD2 ports are, they're essentially a bridge technology to the position, to the situation where we can harvest much more data out of the car itself. And to this end, we are working with car manufacturers directly. However, we're now negotiating with them from a slightly different position, having actually validated the need for the solution that we have, and from a much more clear point of what is it that we need and how can we potentially work together. And at this moment, we don't have anything to announce, but we can say that at least at 4 premium car manufacturers in Germany, that we are in discussion with all of them to some extent, and all of them have engaged with our device to some extent as well. And we're looking forward to seeing how can we interact with the data more directly and really see the car as a data platform rather than have to do these potentially cumbersome workarounds via OBD. But the fifth and potentially the most important trend that I'd like to talk about, and please, if you're going to take one away with you, take this one, and that's basically find the problem and fix it. And here we were really guided by a dictum by an ex-VP of Internet of Things from IBM, who talked about Internet of Things, but I think it applies to connected car, which you could say it's a subset of it anyway. And basically, it's a statement of a firm belief that Internet of Things will grow one very compelling use case at a time. Certainly at Vimcar, we have decided that we will grow our business one very compelling use case at a time. And about 6 months or a little bit longer after the launch, we can definitely see that this has actually paid off for us at this moment. So we have identified very clearly the problem. These scribbles on a piece of paper that are really cumbersome to actually collect and that are really not working neither for the people who are actually forced to compile them, nor for the people that actually demand to have them in tax authorities. We've dove deeply into the actual domain, and we have studied the rules and regulations of this good country to understand what are the actual rules that we can play with and what is it that we need to provide. We have worked very closely with right stakeholders in this market. We have identified potential users. We have identified other stakeholders, like in this case, my colleague is speaking with some Steuerberaters. We have identified right channels to approach people that we potentially want to serve. Here you're seeing CEOs of Vimcar and CEOs of Deutscher Steuerberaterverband announcing our joint initiatives around electronic logbooks. And essentially, we are getting very quickly to a very sustainable and clear business model, at least for this first product that we are building. And it allows us to charge very specific rates for very specific service that we're delivering and to a very specific target of the market who is needing this kind of solution. As I say, for Vimcar, we believe that this is just the first product of many that we want to build. And I believe that this kind of approach is how we're going to build connected car for the future. So basically, my question for you is what you're going to build. And if you're going to build something, please let us know. We're very keen to hear what you are up to as well. So that's the talk that I wanted to give to you now. But if there are any questions, I'd love to hear from you as well.